if you go to work all the time and you neglect, because you're working so much, you start to neglect your health and you start to neglect
Yeah.
your personal. What
Yeah.
ends up happening is the business side starts to go like this.
Yeah.
And as that's going down, these are starting to fall apart.
Right.
And when that falls apart, it throws the whole triangle off.
Welcome, everybody, back to an episode of Influencer Insights, where we talk about mental health in the entertainment industry, and we bring guests on to share their stories and their overcoming in that area. Today on, I have Emma Dowd, who is born in November of '78 in Bristol, Connecticut. Emma was no ordinary child. She was 46 XX CAH intersex, which means she is naturally born as a woman, but has both genitals and a feminine reproductive system, thanks to a birth defect. So she came out to the world in 2020 after a tragic accident caused her body to stop producing the small amount of testosterone in her body naturally produced, setting her into what we call a detransition. And her professional career has been something most people dream of. Emma's an artist at heart, and all she ever wanted to be when she grew up was an actress, model, an artist, and she's accomplished all of that. So creativity is in her blood. She is the owner of AM FM 247 Broadcasting Network, a streaming radio platform to get her voices into the public. And she's the owner of Gladys Goodies, a natural and healthy dog treat company. She's a successful photographer, exhibiting her work from coast to coast in the United States, and had a show in Hong Kong, China. She also hosts the successful radio show It's Emma's World, which allows us to be inspired through her stories and help create conversations to help us expand our horizons into various topics. So welcome, Emma. Glad to have you on. I know a lot of the things that you share when we were talking beforehand about coming on, or the things that we do in our Facebook group, as well as your podcast and your show. So welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'd love to talk and see what we can come up with today.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your story, because you've had a lot of experiences, and those are things that really inspire and help others move through their own journey too. So I did a little bit of an introduction there, but do you want to give us kind of the where you're from and what you do from your perspective and stuff now?
I've actually been through a lot in my entire life, and I remember my very first start was when I started to do artwork and I started to write. And this is probably in elementary school. And I remember my grandmother and my mom having like this big argument over what I would be able to do. That I don't remember which one wanted which thing, but one of them's like, she needs to be an artist, she needs to be an author.
Yeah.
And then the biggest key was, if you're an artist, you're not going to make money till after you're dead. So,
Right.
I wanted to pursue both of them, and I didn't want to let any of it down. I didn't want, because I loved them both. So it's not like I was giving up a dream that they were trying to enforce on me. I really did love it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it got started with artwork. My mom had a pen in my hand when I was probably by the age of 2, and I made my first stick figure at the age of 2.
Cool.
And I kept growing from there. And I think my very first idea where I saw that I could actually do some drawing was in fourth grade. We had like this column, the top of a column, like a Roman style Gothic column top,
Yes.
and we had to draw it. And the reality, she said, for me at that age, to be able to write, to put all that together and the shadowing and everything else, she goes, it was like above what a normal like 7 or 8-year-old would be able to do.
Right.
So it was that was kind of inspiring for me.
Yeah.
And after that, my dad grew up with a camera in his hand, always had a camera in my face. And I remember wanting to be that person. I loved photography. I saw what he did. I saw how he developed his own pictures, and I'm like, I got to do this.
Wow.
So with a mixture of writing, art, and photography, I kind of developed myself pretty much into high school. And outside of high school, I went over to San Diego, and I dangled over a cliff to take a picture of what was Qualcomm Stadium. And it actually won first place in a contest down here in Pasco County. And it was done with just a regular point and shoot camera. I didn't have an SLR or anything like that, or now DSLRs.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, if I can do it with that, imagine what I can do with something good.
Yeah.
So then I got into photography a little bit more. I got into the music. I
Yep.
started doing videos and music, and I worked with a band, and we traveled all over the place. And I got to be on stage with some amazing bands that people would just love today.
Yep.
Eventually, that came to an end, and when that did, I kind of picked up my photography after another tragedy with my best friend.
Oh my.
I had this woulda, coulda, shoulda thing inside my head, and it was a dream. And so what I decided to do was take that dream and reenact it into a photograph. That photograph is Death to Yesterday, and it has been worldwide. It has gone all over the place. It made me quite a content person right then and there. And so I just decided to continue to develop that.
Oh, wow.
And then outside of that, I own the radio station, which is something I kind of came up with. And I do It's Emma's World, which is a blog, which it started off as a blog, and then it kind of merged into a radio show. And what I wanted to understand was, like, when I did shows, people just were like, well, you're not Ansel Adams, so guess what? We don't want you, we can't have you on here. You don't have a big enough name or big enough pull to mention you.
Right.
And I'm like, can you imagine how many people have gone under the radar? So I decided to create the radio show and the blog around that to help people like me get that exposure. Because I find sometimes the people that are the younger ones coming out of the garage bands and stuff like that, they're better than some of the stuff I hear on the radio today.
100%.
So that really kind of blew up. And before I knew it, I was talking to Tiffany, and I was talking to Jewel and Mitchell Musso and John Schneider, and pretty much anybody that you've ever seen on General Hospital and Days of Our Lives. I've talked to them all. Anything on Lifetime and Hallmark Channel, I've talked to them. And then when COVID hit, I had to kind of revamp it a little bit because Hollywood shut down, the music industry shut down. So I kind of developed a way of overcoming your own story and coming over, how did you overcome the walls that you've been through? And, even in the artists, they did the same thing. When you go to an audition, you hear more no's than yeses. And then everybody's always telling you, you're never going to make this. It's never going to be this, blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, you lose hope in yourself. So this is designed to inspire people to just keep shooting for the dreams and block out the noise.
Cool. Wow, that's impressive. And what a gift to give back to people in the industry as well. There's so many people fighting and struggling and that sort of thing. When you were younger and you kind of had these opportunities, like how did you find out about them? Like whether you were on the stage or doing writing competitions, that sort of thing. Like did you have some connections in the industry, or did you just, your parents kind of helped you find the right places to go, or?
Dumb luck.
It
basically came down to be at the right place at the right time. And that's what ended up happening. I did compete in a lot of writing contests through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Okay.
And I won the county for my grade 3 years in a row. Okay. And then for the 8th grade year, they stopped me. They wouldn't let me compete anymore, which kind of broke my heart, because they're like, if, we got to give somebody else a chance to win. I said, well, isn't that the point of a competition? Beat the best.
Right.
And right now I'm still the reigning winner. Right. So you're going to sideline me so somebody else can get a better shot at it. I would rather lose knowing that I tried my best and somebody else was better than me than to be completely wiped out. So I guess in a way I've never been taken out. So I'm still kind of the reigning champion, like an undisputed lifetime champion, which is kind of cool. Yeah. As far as the working with the bands and everything like that, again, dumb luck. I started my own photography studio, and a band member from a band that was just starting out called 16 Second Stare came up to me, and they said, "So, do you know how to do band photos?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do band photos." So we took some band photos. He goes, "Are you any good on the video?" I'm like, he goes, "We're going to shoot some video." I'm like, "Yeah, I can shoot video. No big deal." Yeah. And then out of the blue, like a week later, after he videotaped this, he brings over an Apple and the computer and puts it in front of me. And he goes, "You got a week to learn how to edit video because you're going to be editing the video." Yeah. I've never worked with an Apple before. Never worked with any of these other cameras before, other than to hit play and record. Sure. And so I had to learn the whole thing. We created his first music video, which was called The Judge. And it did well for them. And in 2012, they kind of broke up. Okay. So when they broke up, I was working with I was looking online and I ran into a guy that I knew was a ring announcer. He was basically for the amateur pro wrestling announcer, and I started talking to him. He had his PR company. I did writing before, so I kind of got into that writing again.
Yeah.
Because of that, I met all these other people, which have now allowed me, when I left that group, to become the owner of AM/FM. So a lot of it's just dumb luck, and a lot of it was just getting out there and practicing. I've never taken a photography class in my life. I've never taken a Photoshop class. I just sit down and learn. That's pretty much been the best way for me to do it.
Yeah.
So if you're dumb luck. Dumb luck.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Would you kind of walk, in those situations where they pop up like that, do you just spend 3 days just like immersing yourself in how to learn, the Apple camera or whatever it is? Like, is that kind of your method in getting into it, or?
That's the best way to do it. I mean, when you look at these instruction manuals, they're usually like this big.
Yeah.
You're never going to read that in a matter of a couple of days. So yeah, but that is honestly the easiest way that I've ever learned how to do it, is just immerse yourself in it. Sure. When you deal with that, you're going to feel two situations. One, am I good enough for this? And B, you're going to hear the bark, but the bark doesn't mean it's worse than the bite, because it usually is.
Yeah.
And then I also go with the mentality that, we sent a person to space. We've created bombs that can completely, suck out the entire life of a place. Yeah. We have jet fighters that can go, Mach speeds. We have seen amazing things happen. And if they can do it, why can't I? Oof. It's not something that it can't be fixed or can't be done. It's just a matter of, do you have the passion and the determination, and of course patience, to get it done.
Yeah. And
so when you put all that together, you can come up with it. So you got to basically remove the bark. Oof. Tune that out. You're going to get bit a little bit, because it's not going to be an easy thing to work with. But you can't. Somebody created it so somebody can work with it. Yeah. Yeah. That's the way I look at it.
That's a great way to look at it, because I think sometimes we get, the world's in a place where it's easier to ask somebody to help you all the time, or to ask for some support or whatever. But often it's just saying, hey, realizing I can do this regardless of whatever circumstances you're faced with, or where you come from, and that sort of thing too, right? So that's really cool. Tell us maybe a little bit more about your radio show. Do you is it weekly, or how do you get guests on and that sort of thing now?
Well, it started out, like I said, as a blog, and the blog kind of blew up and really became a popular thing for art, music, and entertainment.
Sure.
And then I started to want to feature children.
Oh,
and cool. Children was pretty neat because of how they see the world and how they express themselves. So I reached out on a couple of Facebook was just kind of starting around this time.
Okay.
So I reached out to a couple of things, and before I knew it, I got this demo tape from a little girl. Cool. And I listened to it, and it's like, there is absolutely no way this girl is 9 years old. She sounded like she was 25, 30 years old singing.
Is that right? Wow.
And I was like, okay. I'm like, well, you know what? You piqued my interest. I want to see this person I want to do this in person. So I brought her on. We had an interview. Her mom was right there, and I kind of walked through it with her. And, I didn't ask her big questions. I asked her simple questions, but yet questions that I know she could answer and would be beneficial to her. Yeah. And then I made her sing right there on the spot. Cool. So that was Jackie Avancho. And I actually did her very first interview. Wow. So that kind of set it up. And I was trying to work with the parents for a little while. And then she got on America's Got Talent and just went from there. I'm so proud of her. I knew her when she was 9. That's cool. It's pretty neat. And then as it started to grow, I started to talk to, big time people. I got introduced to Lifetime, which also worked with Hallmark. And so we did a lot of cross promotions. Yep. But the way that I found that out was I wanted to talk to Danica McKellar, because Danica McKellar is a brilliant mathematician. And really? I love how she takes math and makes it simple for basically anybody at any age level to understand it, from calculus all the way down to simple math. And she takes the bark out of the bark out of the bite. Yeah. So I wanted to interview her. And I'm like, well, it's a long shot. So I put it out there. I didn't hear anything for like 2 months, right?
Sure.
And then finally I get this call from Los Angeles, and I pick up the phone, and it's Lifetime. And she goes, hello, is this an AME radio show? I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, we got Danica McKellar that came in, and she is doing a new movie and for Lifetime here. And it was a 2-part series. So there's like 2 different movies. I think it was Mom, I Didn't Do It, and something else. And I did.
Okay.
It was a great movie. Anyways, she goes, Danica doesn't do interviews, but she goes, she came in and gave me your information and said, I want to talk to this person. So she goes, before I actually let you do this, she goes, I want you to talk to Jewel and Mitchell Musso from Hannah, Montana. She goes, if you can do those and they come back with a good response, we will put you in touch with Danica. I got Danica. And then after that, I got Tiffany. And then I got the Matthew Lawrence. And I got John Schneider. I got Tiffany, you name it. I mean, it just kept going up and up and up and up. And then before I knew it, I talked to just about everybody on General Hospital and Days of Our Lives. Wow. And it really was an impactful show. Yeah. And one of the things I always asked them was, what was the biggest wall you had to overcome? Because everybody, no matter what you're going to do, you're going to have that wall. Yeah. And ironically, they said it was believing that I was okay enough to do it. Because we get in our own minds that we can't do it. This is just too hard. I don't want to deal with this. I'm just not good enough, and blah, 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 blah. So we would literally talk ourselves out of our own success. Yeah. And she goes, you just have to take that with a grain of stride, especially in the artist field. You'll understand that it is a cutthroat, competitive, backstabbing situation. Yeah. So if you don't have a good constitution about yourself, the art world is going to eat you right up. Yeah, because you could put out. I mean, look at Picasso. He has amazing work. He's considered a legendary painter, and there are people that can't stand his work. Same with Van Gogh. Same with Da Vinci. Same with Michelangelo. All of those people. So you got to understand you can't always take it to heart because you can't please everybody. So you got to only please for yourself, and then other people that will see that will be pleased with it too. Oh wow! So that's what this whole show pretty much brought out. That you got to be. You got to love yourself. You got to do what you want for yourself. You got to overcome your own obstacles, get out of your own way. And they also gave tips on how to be a better actor and how what they heard from other people to be a better actor for themselves and other kinds of things. So it was really fun. Yeah, cool. Well, and I mean, how often do you get to talk to some of those people anyway, right? And you get to have a very in-depth conversation, that sort of thing with them. So some of them I still do. I do talk to them quite a bit. Some of them. I haven't talked to many of them since pretty much 2020 with the COVID. But yeah, I still talk to some of them. One of them I'm pretty good friends with. I talk to her all the time on email and through her different social media platforms and stuff like that. And cool. I'm hoping that I might have an opportunity for her later, because there are some things in the work I can't technically mention, but if I do, she's the one I want to work on it with, if I can get her to do it. Cool. Well, we're looking forward to hearing good things there down the road there. So awesome. So obviously you've had a lot of experience kind of in the art world, the entertainment industry, and made some good connections and that sort of thing. There are a lot of I don't know, dark corners and stuff in the entertainment industry, I think. And, one of the things we like to talk about is safety and positive mental health and that sort of thing. So from your experience, what are some of the areas that a person should be cautious of and things to be watching out for in the industry? Well, honestly, from even talking to the other people, the biggest thing that I see is that, especially with women, it's all sexual. And if you don't do the sexual things, you're not going to get the job. And if you don't, then you get blackballed. That has been changing a lot, which is good. Yep. The other thing that I see is a lot of people prey on you because they know you have that ambition. They see that sparkle in your eye and the stars in your eye, and they want to take advantage of that. So there's a lot of predatory record labels. There are a lot of predatory managers and talent people. Sure. If you're going to find somebody, I've heard that the best thing you can do is not find a manager that you have to pay up front. They pay when they get you onto whatever it is you want to do. Sounds fair. Also need to listen to you, because if they put you in roles you're not comfortable with.
Right.
Some people are just not okay with doing any, romantic scenes. And if that's what they're putting you into, they're not listening to you as the client.
Right.
So you don't have to take everything, it's okay. You just have to know your limits. And I know that sometimes people have to go on diets or do this other type of stuff for modeling or anything like that. But if you're 100 pounds and they're telling you you're too damn fat,
Something wrong.
you really need to start looking at that as a different way, because it's like you are now going to be hurting yourself, losing more weight to fit this ideology that they
Right.
want you to be in. So know your limits. That's the
Good.
best thing I can tell you. It's okay to walk away from a situation that's bad.
Yes.
It may give you a little bit of a backlash to it. You may get a little bit of hearsay and people are like, oh, I don't want to work at that one because of this.
Yeah.
But you put your morals first. And if it means going against everything you stand for to get a job, that job is going to be terrible because you're going to do a terrible job in it.
Yeah.
So, I believe it's okay. I will never change my body for anybody else. I will never do anything in order to get a job.
Yeah.
If you can't hire me on my talent, then
Sorry.
I didn't get that job.
Right.
And I'll just walk away. No big deal.
Yeah.
Because whatever you do, it will have lasting effects to you.
Absolutely.
And I would much rather have the lasting effects be in a positive way than a negative way by doing it and getting a job that I wasn't worth it.
Yep. No, that's a good way to look at it. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't sleep peacefully at night because of what you've been doing, what's the point, right? So cool.
But you know what I have seen too, which is with acting. I was learning about this a little while ago, but this method acting is extremely it basically puts you into your own situation. So if let's just say you got to play this guy that is like a murderer and he's really dark and really decrepit.
Right.
People do these things to learn how to be that person.
Right.
So it's so believable. It's a great way of acting. But at the second part of that, it can have mental effects on you that will last. There are people that are coming out of the industry that are either completely nuts, they're depressed,
Right.
they are they're so frustrated because they're kind of stuck with this now. Yeah. They feel these things. So I am starting to wonder how good this actually is. It's great for the viewer.
Right.
It's great for the moviegoer, but is it good for the people?
Right.
Is it worth risking mental health over a role?
Right.
And if that's the case, how do we need to set up a way for them to get like deconditioned?
Yeah.
If there's a way of doing that. I mean, maybe through hypnosis, maybe through some meditation, maybe through some counseling after they're done with it.
Right.
But they got to look after it's kind of like sports people. Yes. They go out there, they get injured, and the league wants nothing to do with them anymore. They don't support them. These people are stuck with lifelong injuries. Well, the same thing should come out of this. There's got to be some accountability. If you want it done like this, then you need to be accountable for the ramifications that happen to these people afterwards.
Follow through. Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. And I think, there's some credible movies and some incredible actors out there that have played these roles and that sort of thing. But is it worth losing them for another role somewhere too, right down the road then as well? So,
think about this. Look how many people are on drugs and alcohol in Hollywood.
Yes.
Because of depression and trying to calm down stuff. And it's like, this is why. Yeah. This is why we're having so many overdoses. This is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there needs to be a little bit of humanity in any kind of work we do. I think a lot of the, maybe outside the entertainment industry and stuff like that, we've gotten way better at safety and ensuring people make it home safely and stuff like that. And so absolutely that needs to be a big move there for them. What's some of your favorite parts of the work that you do, Emma? Some of who you get to talk to and, some highlights and that sort of thing.
It's always going to be talking with the people. It's always that, because everybody's different. Everybody's got a different story.
Sure.
Everybody has different experiences. Everybody sees things differently. So when you get to talk to all these people, you see the world in a different light. And I love that. Yeah. Some people have radical theories. Some people have more conservative theories. Sure. Some people like to try different things that I didn't even think about. So
Yeah.
it's little things that I can apply to my own life. I love creating. I just
Yeah.
love creating. So actually being able to not only do my show, but also create this radio show,
Yeah.
this radio station with a platform for people to create
Yeah.
is pretty impressive for me.
Absolutely. No, and legacy impact when you do stuff like that, right? It's a long-term plan. So, oh, awesome. A little more personal, maybe switching gears from kind of the entertainment system to Emma. We know, again, you've done some really incredible things in the industry and supported it. So, but there's often things behind the scenes that people don't see or they don't get to know about, and you're very open in your own life as well. But what's something that people don't know about you that maybe you'd like to share that might support somebody else?
I'm kind of into the paranormal realms.
Okay.
So I love ghost I want to say paranormal investigating because I don't like the term ghost hunting
Okay.
because we're not hunting anything.
Right.
We're just trying to see if there's
Something else.
life after death. And I think that's something that we all wonder about. What's
Sure.
going to happen when we die? Is this it? Is this not it?
Yeah.
And I have seen some incredible things. I actually have a picture of a full-bodied apparition that was taken right behind me.
Wow.
I could validate exactly how the photo was taken, and I know there was no manipulation because I got it from them immediately.
Wow.
Just to be able to say that
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think what everybody tries to go through to find out, and paranormal investigating can be cutthroat too. Believe
Sure.
it or not, there's a lot of drama behind it because everybody wants to be that person. But in
Right.
all, we're just trying to come up with that information.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how we get it or who we got it from. It's just that it's out there. So it's kind of like fishing, but I don't have a hook to hook anybody or myself with. So it's a
Right.
positive thing.
Yep.
You can sit there for hours and hours and hours and get nothing. And then one day you can go in there and you get a ton of bites, a ton of little hits that it's like, wow, this is really impressive that there is possibly life after death. But I honestly do not believe that this is the end for us.
Sure.
Now, whether or not you believe that there's a God and you're going to go to heaven or hell, or if you're going to reincarnate or whatever it is, that's your choice to understand.
Yes.
I still have my choices, but I do know from what I've seen, there's no way that there is no life after death in some way, shape, or form.
So how do you kind of spark my interest there? How do you think that we fit into that realm, I guess? So from your experience, what you've studied, researched.
Into the realm of the paranormal?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
what
I have learned is a couple of different things. And generally, when something tragic happens, it literally puts not only something like a shot to your heart, a little check on your heart.
Yes.
But it can also, if it's not fatal, it can linger. And sometimes that energy was so strong that when that happens, it lets out that literally it replays itself over and over and over again in time. Right. See, I don't believe that that's a ghost. I just believe that's trapped energy, which can be captured, especially here in Florida, because lime rock is actually a good source of energy that right. If that's captured, it can play over and over and over again. So here in Florida, we do happen to have a lot of residual hauntings, which is just a movie.
Interesting.
It's simply a movie. It's capturing time, a moment in time here. However, I do believe, because what I've seen, that when tragic incidents happen and people are not quite ready to go, or they don't know that they are gone, they tend to stay here. I work at a house that is one of the most haunted houses in the state of Florida.
Okay.
And I have heard people talking. I've seen people walking. I've got a full-bodied apparition.
Right.
It physically interacts with you. So this is not a movie.
Wow.
So why these people are there, that's what I'd like to know. Why are they still here? Why don't they go to where they need to be? Because as you can see, most people that pass away, we don't see them again.
Right.
We don't hear from them again.
Right.
If our grandparents go, most of the time we don't run into them anymore. But regardless, their imprint is always going to be here.
Yes.
And so in some way, shape, or form, there is still a way of connecting to these people. I believe that when I'm gone, people will be able to reach me in some way, shape, or form.
Cool.
Whether or not I'm going to be here haunting the world, I don't know. I mean, I definitely have a list of people I will haunt if that happens.
Yep.
So I will be, haunting them for eternity.
Yeah. Sure.
So that's just, but it's really fascinating because children seem to be one of the ones that stay here the most, believe it or not.
Hmm.
In this house, we have more children than we have adults.
Really interesting.
So I think that how we live here and the things that we encounter, we can make that lasting impression not only on the earth but in time.
Wow.
And I believe that that can be accessed if you know how to do it throughout, with what we're learning with the paranormal.
Sure.
So I would say try to just live your best life. Live with no regrets.
Yeah.
I live my day as I want to live. I want to live it as this is my last day.
Yeah.
And a regret, there's no failure. There's only regrets.
Yep.
Because you can fail, but you at least tried. You just realize it didn't work. So you can either revamp it or do something else, or just say, I'm done, I've tried it. But a regret is something we cannot get back. It's too late. So that's what I wanted to make sure that when I die, and I think everybody else should do the same thing, is make sure you don't have regrets. If you're a person with negative energy, always talking negative, I tend to see that those people are the ones that are trapped here too, or their energy is trapped back here and causes some type of damage. Right. I do know that negatively, with us, here we are, the negative people that we bring by, we can actually attract spirits to us. I've seen this happen. Be careful of who you let in your house.
Yes. Because
they may have some negative stuff attached to them that will not leave. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a spirit, but it means it's negative energy, and that negative energy can impact you.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that are very negative tend to have a lot of these bad things happening to them. And I believe that's from the negative forces that are out there that can interfere with us.
100%.
So I know that's kind of complex, and I know that's kind of like crazy for people and maybe all understand, but
that's cool.
To simplify it, don't be upset. Don't live woe is me, always trying to cause drama and stuff like that. Because that's negative energy that attracts negative energy. Yeah. So if you do believe in demons, demons are negative. What are they going to look for? Negativity, because that's the easiest route to get to somebody. If you're positive, they're going to have to work twice as hard.
Yeah, why touch that? Yeah.
If you're around that negativity, as we've seen in human nature, a lot of times that can be passed on to the next person, and that person changes over time.
Right.
So energy is extremely fluid. We can pass it on to other people. Yeah. We can absorb it. It can change our lives too. Yeah. And that may have an influence with the paranormal realm.
Well, cool. That's there's a lot to the spiritual side of the world that people haven't. I don't know. You walk parallel to those worlds all the time, and people aren't always aware of all the things that are going. So that's cool. I think we'll probably touch base with you at some point in the future to hear more about that in your findings and that sort of thing. So that's awesome. Mental health, Emma. I know it's a big topic of the day. Part of the reason that my group has done as well and is continuing to grow is because people are looking for help with mental health and just a safe place to connect and to share sort of things. But yourself, I mean, you've again seen a lot of things and done a lot of things. What is some of the impacts of mental health in your own life?
With my health and my condition,
sure,
it honestly made it the worst possible situation that I could have lived in.
Tough scenario. Absolutely.
I was forced to live a life that I could not do. Okay. So in other words, I truly believe that our brains are wired male, female. People say that they're not, but having a female brain, being forced to live as a male with That's no tough. Option.
Yeah.
I literally had to play that role.
Yeah.
And it was literally a role.
Yeah.
Some days I played it great. Some days I didn't play it good at all. And people started to see through me a little bit.
Right.
So that really put a kibosh on me, and I was depressed, Yeah. And I looked for the art to create something. So if I was going to be ugly, at least I could make something pretty for the world, or at least impact the world in a positive light.
Right.
because I never thought I would be my real self. I
Wow.
never thought this was going to ever happen. And luckily it did by itself. But once I did that, my whole attitude changed, my whole body changed physically. My energy changed.
Right.
And, that was important.
Yes.
The other thing that I realized is that social media had a very negative impact on my my mental health.
Yeah.
Some days it's great, some days it is bad.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the drama that's on there.
Yeah.
And I try to walk away from it as much as I can. It is addicting. I hate to say it's addicting.
Terrible.
My personal business and stuff and everything that I do requires social media to survive.
Yes.
So I try to just only stay on Messenger if I need to,
Cool.
and stay away from looking at the walls. I try to stay away from politics. Politics is a horrible. I don't care which line you go.
Yeah.
It's negative. They're putting negativity in us, and I honestly cannot trust the news media anymore.
Nope.
So everything that I see and do on there, it's people's opinion, and that's what I've had to learn, that it's somebody's opinion. So don't let it affect me.
Yep.
Unless I can prove that it's the absolute truth, then it's hearsay. It's somebody else's. So I'm not going to let their negativity affect my aura.
Right. Yep.
But we do need to physically do more for mental health. We don't take that into consideration enough.
Sure.
Working just a 12-hour day can have a serious negative impact on your mental health, and especially over and over and over again.
Yes.
Or if you're in a toxic job, or you're around toxic people,
yes.
Toxic friends that, believe it or not, there are some of our friends are the most toxic people that we have out there, but we don't want to let them go because we have that connection to them.
Exactly.
But they are hurting us.
Yes.
So my biggest thing that I like to do, I like to light candles. I like incense.
Cool.
I do keep crystals around me because I do believe that crystals have some type of energy absorption to try to get rid of some of the negativity in my room.
Right.
I pray a lot. Wow. I've made it an account now to make sure that I have one day off a week. I have to have at least one day off where I sit down and hang out with my spouse. I go sit with my friends. Yeah. I take time for me. And if you are married, have a date night. Yeah. Every week, have a date night, because if not, you're going to get disconnected, and that's going to cause mental health too.
Sure.
I came up with something a little while ago when it came to my own mental health. And I believe that everything is on picture triangle like this. Okay. And on top of it, it's sitting on top of a pin, right? In the center, it's perfectly balanced if all the weight up here is correct. Right. Each point is something in your life. So you have business and finances, you have personal, and then you have your home life. So this is like your health, business, home life, friends, family, stuff like that. Yep. If you go to work all the time and you neglect, because you're working so much, you start to neglect your health and you start to neglect your personal. What ends up happening is the business side starts to go like this. And as that's going down, these are starting to fall apart. Right. And when that falls apart, it throws the whole triangle off. Right. So we need balance. And that's what we need to work on, and how to balance our lives. There are people that have friends all the time, and they stay home and work and hang out with their friends and call out of work. Well, guess what happens? Now your personal life's going up because now you don't have money for your home and your everyday needs, and your health, and then your business starts failing because you don't have that money to come in because you're not working. Yep. So now you're taking off, and then people are like, well, what was this lapse in time? Well, I was hanging out with my friends. I mean, so this is how life works. It's a balance. You got to balance all three. It's not good to have too much of one and none of something else. Right. You got to balance it. So 25, a third, and a third. Yeah. That's what has to happen. And that means you got to work. Yeah, that means you got to go out there and do things with family. You got to work on your home. You got to do stuff like that, but you got to balance it. Yeah.
Wow. No, that's awesome. What a great tool to use. What are some, date night's a great one. what are some ways that you find balancing workout? Because I know being an entrepreneur, you end up with a big weight workload and that sort of thing. What are some boundaries that you set for yourself?
Some boundaries I set for myself, and especially it's hard because I work in my house.
That's tough, yeah.
But at certain times of the day, I will not go near the computer. I make
Okay.
sure that I take at least an hour to 2 hours to go sit with my dogs, eat
Yeah.
some lunch, watch some TV, do something else other than work. Originally when I was with I had a boss with this because we were kind of working together and building
Okay.
this together. And he had the idea where he stayed up and worked all night. So you should stay up and work all night too.
Yeah.
And so I never had I never had time off for myself.
Right.
Now I have realized that I got to make sure that it's efficient.
Yeah.
And that I do the right thing so I don't have to work harder. I
Yeah.
try to find ways that I can work more efficiently so it doesn't take up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
My goal is to work efficiently so I can have more free time for myself.
Yeah.
And that's something I do. I try not to take calls on weekends.
Sure.
Saturday is my only day off, so I don't really do any type of business on Saturday unless I absolutely have to. And just realize that your business is important, but it's not your life.
Right.
You can lose it in a heartbeat and you can go find something else. But if you lose your wife, your husband, your kids, yeah, you can go find somebody else, but it's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
So I put my family first, my priorities for my family first.
Sure.
And then the business works around that.
Yeah.
And that keeps it in check.
Yeah, no, that's a good perspective to have. And yeah, I think sometimes those little things in your day, you're hanging out with the dogs or just lunch is separate or whatever, those kind of go a long ways for everybody, right? So something we like to talk about on the podcast, you mentioned you have some crystals and that sort of thing around. Do you have like a daily routine that kind of gets you started in a day or evening, or how do you go about kind of balancing that mental health in kind of the day-to-day form?
Basically what I do is I wake up and the first thing I do is I pet my dogs.
Cool.
And because they're always in the bed with me.
Yep.
If my spouse is still there, I say good morning to them or they say good morning to me before they leave. I then get up and I will go drink water. The first thing I do is drink water because I like to hydrate myself a little bit.
Yep.
I think that's important. I don't eat breakfast in the morning. And I know they say breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day, but I tend to see that when I eat breakfast, I get real sluggish.
Oh yeah.
So unless I'm starving,
right,
I won't eat that, but I'll eat lunch. And then what I do is I get up and I go and wash my face I make sure that I wash my face every day. I make sure that if nothing else, I do that. And even if I don't need it, I like to put on makeup only because of the fact that it's doing something to improve me for that day in some way, shape, or form. It may not be that impactful, but everybody's like, you always come out and you're always so made up. Why? Especially if you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But what if I do? What if I do? And I always want to try to look my best at all possible ways. Even if the best is still kind of ugly, it's still the best that I can come up with, and I'm happy with that. Yeah. So that's important to me to try to do something to make myself feel better about myself every day.
Sure.
Once I do that, I generally run in, start working a little bit. I like to play music when I work, and I like to blast it because
what kind of music?
Believe it or not, I have the most eclectic thing that you can imagine. I listen to classical music to death metal.
Cool.
And if it's good, it's good. I just put it on, let it play. I make sure that I get up and dance a little bit.
Sure.
I'll dance. I'll sit at the computer and dance around. I'll go sit there and look in the mirror and dance. Even if it's terrible, I don't care. It's fun and it gets that energy out of you.
Absolutely.
And it helps break up the day. It gets you a little exercise.
Yes.
And then generally around, I haven't been able to exercise in over a month because I had surgery, like I was telling you about. Yes. But generally what I would do is around noon time, I would do a little exercising. Not much, nothing strenuous, not enough to make me sweat and go to a gym or anything like that. And then I would eat. And generally I try to eat lighter stuff for the day. I'll eat a salad, so it gets me the nutrients that I want and it gets me the vitamins that I need.
Yeah.
And then when pretty much everybody comes home, I take care of the dogs, get them fed, hang out with my spouse, go get some dinner. And I know it's cheaper to cook in the house, but I'm in the house all day.
Yeah.
So I like to go out and have something made for us. So I like to go out and eat. And that gets me away from the house and I can concentrate on them.
Yes.
So whoever I'm with that night.
Yep.
And I try not to use the phone when I'm there.
Nice.
And then when I come home, I watch TV. I will not do any work until probably around 8 o'clock. Then from 8 to midnight, I work, finish up the day, and then I go to bed.
Nice. That sounds like a productive, yet kind of I don't know, just a great life,
It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balanced day because I got to
Yeah.
take care of myself. I have health issues.
Sure.
I got to make sure the business is okay. I got to make sure the home's okay.
Yep.
And like I said, if I don't take care of something at all times, it's going to flop over.
Flop. Yep.
So I put a little effort into everything throughout the day, including myself. And that keeps the pieces as even as possible. It's never going to be completely even. We know this.
That's right.
But if you can keep it kind of doing this type of thing, that's okay.
That's right.
But you don't want it to go like this, because once it goes like that, it's over. And it's going to be very hard to fix.
Wow. That's awesome. And that's awesome that a lot of people have the tools, but to implement them in their lives that way, that's really awesome there, Emma. That's really good. So, what are some ambitions for the next couple of years for you? What are some plans? I know COVID's kind of been a hard thing in the entertainment industry, but I mean, as we've kind of hopefully moved through that and that sort of thing, we're going to get out and about more. What are some things that you're looking forward to doing?
I love amusement parks. I want to go to more amusement parks throughout the day, throughout the month or year, whatever. I want to travel a little bit more. I haven't traveled in years just because of the fact that I've been stuck behind the computer.
Yes.
I would love to see some more cities. I would love to go back to, I've driven through New Orleans, but I really want to go and explore New Orleans.
Cool.
I want to go to Colorado. I want to go to Seattle. Nice. I want to go to Oregon.
Yeah.
And I know this will sound crazy as hell, but I want to see Tombstone, Arizona.
Okay.
I know it's commercialized now, but I want to say that I've been there.
Sure.
And one of my absolute biggest goals is to get to Egypt and Germany one day.
Wow.
Germany is where all my family comes from.
Okay.
And so I'm almost 100% German myself. And I have a big connection with that country. I look German. Everything about me is German. Sure. And I even have a dachshund, so it's nice. A German dog. Everything about me is German. Nice. So I'd love to see my roots. Yeah. And, I know it's going to sound funny and I know I'm kind of old, but I would love to learn German. I know the curse words because my grandparents cursed at me when I was, doing stupid stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
I don't always know what they mean, but I know it was bad.
Yeah.
So, I do know that. And then I just want to get more in touch with my heritage roots, even my Irish ones. But I mean, Irish is more what we do every day here, but German is different. They don't speak a different language. They do speak Gaelic over there, which is something a little different, but that has been dead for so long. Nobody even really uses it.
That's right.
So I don't really need to learn another language, but I would like to learn my German language. I would love to go to Ireland too.
Yeah.
Go to Cork and see where my family came from.
Yep. Once you're over there, you're not far away. So yeah, that's awesome.
And one other thing I'd like to do, two other things. I would like to get back into photography. My MS really kind of sidelined it because it's been hard to hold the camera.
Yes.
So I'd love to be able to get back and do that again. And the other thing is I want to star in a movie.
Okay.
If I can do that, I'll be all set.
Caught them all. That's awesome. What kind of movie?
Any kind of movie. I love mysteries. I love comedy. I love to make people laugh. Cool. So if I could get out there and act like an idiot and make people laugh, that would be my best day.
Perfect. No, that sounds like a pretty good goal to hit. I like that one. So, if people want to follow you, or if they want to get in touch, watch on your show, or how do they get a hold of you?
I was really lucky that when I set up my social media that I could make it all one thing. So it's Emma Lynn Dowd on every social media network. And it is emmalyndowd.com for my website. And that has links to everything too.
Nice.
Last name is Dowd. So
Good.
maybe that will make it easy for people. I know it's a 4-letter word, but it seems to confuse people, and people have a really hard time pronouncing it. And
Yes.
I'm like, okay, you know.
It's not that hard, guys. Yeah. No. I usually botch up everybody's name on this podcast now that we've been doing that. So that's kind of just
It is
something I've
what it
accepted.
is.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I will definitely put the notes there, and we'll have the links and stuff, of course, in the group below, the comments below. But we do thank you for joining us today and being a part of this, and sharing your story, because I know that you've got lots to say, and I think there's lots of things we could talk about yet down the road. So maybe we'll connect again there, Emma. But what's a final thought that you wanted to share with everybody? Somebody maybe getting started in the entertainment industry, or somebody that's trying to do something just a little bit bigger than normally expected. What would you give them?
Believe in yourself and don't take anything to heart.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear a lot of no's. You're gonna have a lot of people that just say that what you're doing is bad, but you're gonna have a lot of people saying what you're doing is good too.
Yeah.
When it goes to a role, you got to understand that you're just maybe not the right fit for the role, not because you're a bad actor or actress, just because you don't fit.
What they're looking for.
And that's fine. There are going to be more roles out there. If you're in the music industry, just believe in yourself and don't get in your own way. A lot of them fight, and a lot of them break up and everything like that. You are all stars.
Yeah.
You are all important to that band. Not one band member is more important than the other. So don't get in your own way and break up because you get the little fame and fortune thing.
Yeah.
But believe in yourself. That's the most important thing. Don't give up on yourself, because if you're going to give up on you, everybody else will too. So
Absolutely.
if you have to be the one that supports you, you have to be the one that encourages you. So don't ever give up on yourself, and treat everybody with love. Even if you don't agree with them, that's fine. Just respect them enough to walk away. That's me. I don't accept it. I don't want anybody's acceptance. I don't. Yeah, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to not have it by some people. But I demand everybody to respect me enough that if you don't like what I'm doing, walk away and don't hurt me. Don't slander me. Don't do anything negative. And I think if we all adapted that, we'd be a much happier place to live and work and stuff. And because we don't need everybody to be our friends, we do need everybody to at least be kind to us.
Yes. Well, no, great words. Awesome way, I think, to wrap this interview up, Emma. We just thank you for coming on and sharing your story. Some people kind of drawn on hands of cards in life and that sort of thing, and you've taken anything that you've gotten and used it for the best. And appreciate you sharing the balance triangle. I think that's going to be a huge piece for people. And just remember to believe in yourself, because Emma's done it, and she's done really well in the things that she's accomplished, and she's just encouraging everybody else. So thank you again, Emma. And I guess we'll take care for now, and we'll see you down the road somewhere. So.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.